Our first story tonight started with an email from a viewer. She said she had been held at gunpoint, falsely arrested, and taken to prison in Florence. Federal agents accusing her of being an ex-con who violated her parole.
But this woman says they have the wrong person, and now she has to prove that she's not somebody else. She wrote to ABC 15 asking for help, saying, "I feel so violated, betrayed, and wronged by my own government officials."
Her email ended up in the inbox of investigator Jennifer Kovaleski. She's unraveling the mystery for us tonight, talking with this woman and pushing for answers.
Okay, just say and spell your name for me so I make sure we get it right.
Penny McCarthy, Penny, no E, McCarthy, MC, capital CARTHY.
This is the story of what happened to 66-year-old Penny McCarthy.
Are you Carol Ann Rozak?
No.
Imagine knowing who you are, and now imagine police telling you you're somebody else.
Have you ever been Carol Ann Rozak?
Never met her, don't know her, no.
But she says federal agents insist you're looking at 70-year-old Carol Ann Rozak.
I'm a 66-year-old woman. I'm a senior citizen that got picked up at gunpoint in her front yard and taken to prison.
Penny and her family insist this is a wild case of mistaken identity.
I'm mad, I'm hurt, all of a sudden I'm on antidepressants, I'm on blood pressure medicine, I'm on medicine to sleep at night, all because somebody didn't do their job right in the government.
Penny's never hurt anybody a day in her life. Sorry.
That's her younger sister, Tracy Red.
Sorry, sis.
They're both still processing the trauma.
I couldn't get a hold of her for 3 days.
Her daughter, Patricia Huffman, talked to us from Texas. She also verified her mom's identity.
It almost makes my brain stop working to think about the level of injustice involved here.
Her family showed us years of memories. They say Penny's a mother of 5 with 11 grandchildren who spent most of her life in Colorado, and not one photo in an orange jumpsuit until last month.
A little old lady, sorry Ben, gardening in her slippers in her front yard, and it takes 6 U.S. Marshals to take her down.
And I'm right about here.
She clearly remembers the moment. 6 officers wearing bulletproof vests, identifying themselves as federal marshals. Penny says it happened almost a month ago outside her Phoenix home.
They're hanging out the windows, and then they're out the doors, and they're pointing rifles at me.
She describes a clear show of force.
And he's telling me that if I look at them again, he's going to tase me.
All to arrest a 66-year-old woman.
What is going through your head at that moment?
I'm being robbed. Something's wrong. And he calls me Carol. And I'm looking around like, I don't know anybody named Carol.
Penny says they would only tell her they were arresting her for a parole violation.
They proceeded to chain my ankles, chain my wrists, put me in the back of a car.
According to Penny, they transported her to federal prison in Florence, Arizona, where she would spend one long, agonizing night living the life of a different woman.
How was your experience in federal prison?
Scary as hell. I've never been so uncomfortable, so cold.
That's because of what she says she had to go through.
The whole having to be strip searched 3 times in front of all of these people. It's just humiliating and degrading.
Penny and her family want to know, why was she arrested? What led police to make this raid? Questions we wanted to ask federal marshals and the U.S. Attorney's Office.
They had a picture of my Facebook picture as what they ID'd me by.
How is my mom, who's on a fixed income, supposed to afford an attorney to prove she's not someone when we don't even know why they think she's that person in the first place, and they are completely unwilling to tell us anything?
I would think they would need a lot more than that.
But here's where this story takes another wild twist.
My belief in the whole legal system is non-existent.
According to the federal court paperwork, the woman police say is Penny has a checkered past, but her crimes and parole violation date back to the 1990s in Oklahoma. So why are officers in Arizona making an arrest on a parole violation out of Oklahoma from more than 2 decades ago?
I was arrested on a warrant from 1999 in Oklahoma. I have never lived in Oklahoma.
No one will tell us, or Penny and her family. And the mystery only deepens from here. Those same federal records show Carol Ann Rozak went to prison for non-violent crimes. again, committed 3 states away.
I could see, even if you thought I was her, if she'd been a murderer, then I could see this.
The ABC 15 investigators obtained this mugshot of a much younger Carol Ann Rozak after she was released from federal custody in 1999 in Texas. The only photo evidence we have of the woman officers say is Penny. Here's Penny's recent Facebook photo she says they used to identify her.
I don't look like this lady.
And according to these records, Carol Ann Rozak was born in Canada.
I'm so bad at geography, I couldn't even point which side of Canada Ontario's on.
Another piece of compelling evidence.
I have my birth certificate.
Penny showed us her California birth certificate and Colorado driver's license. They show her birth date in 1957 doesn't match the one written on court documents.
What is your message to the U.S. Marshals and the U.S. Attorney's Office?
You guys up. You can bleep me. It'll come out.
This needs to have an internal investigation with the U.S. Marshal.
66-year-old Penny McCarthy now has to prove in Arizona federal court she's Penny and not 70-year-old Carol Ann Rozak.
The truth will win out, no matter how much they torture me in the process.
The U.S. Marshal Service here in Arizona now confirming they did arrest a woman believed to be Carol Ann Rozak. But here's what's interesting. They made the arrest on behalf of U.S. Marshals in Oklahoma and say those agents thought Rozak was living under the alias of Penny McCarthy. A federal judge set an identity hearing for next Tuesday in Arizona. That's where Penny has to prove she's Penny. We will be in the courtroom.
This is an absolutely wild story, first of all. But isn't there some way they can figure this out? Don't they have at least fingerprints that could match this old case?
Katie and Javier, we expect that's going to be something that comes up in the court hearing next week. According to Penny, though, she says that investigators initially told her that her fingerprints matched. But then when she goes to court, a judge lets her out of custody. She told me that a big part of that, the prosecutor said in the courtroom that they didn't have anyone who could identify or analyze her fingerprints. So it appears the story has changed. Yeah. This, again, will all play out in downtown Phoenix, and we will be there to let you know what happens.
But first, tonight, a significant update in an ABC 15 investigation, a wild case of mistaken identity. Last week, we told you about a 66-year-old Valley woman detained, cuffed, and arrested by federal marshals. Within hours of our report, the feds now backtracking.
ABC 15 investigator Jennifer Kovaleski has been unraveling this case for weeks. She joins us now with the latest. And Jen, this woman was going to have to prove tomorrow she wasn't somebody else.
Katie and Faye, this really is a wild story. This woman was set to have an identity hearing on Tuesday in downtown Phoenix, where she was going to have to prove she was Penny McCarthy and not an accused criminal from Oklahoma. But a judge has now dismissed the case, and it's now raising serious questions about the justice system and how they got it so wrong. With this 2-page motion, an order signed by an Arizona federal judge on Monday, the arrest of a Valley woman once believed to be Carol Ann Rozak goes away for now.
We showed up with 6 marshals looking like something out of Dog the Bounty Hunter coming to my door, threatened to tase me twice in my own driveway.
And the story of what happened to 66-year-old Penny McCarthy becomes a fight for accountability.
Now they want to just dismiss this. They want to sweep it under the rug.
I want to show you this document.
We showed Penny the motion the U.S. Attorney's Office recently filed asking a judge to dismiss her case and vacate her identity hearing.
This says we screwed up and we're going to make this go away. And I'm supposed to just lay down and play dead, and I'm not going to.
Last week, Penny told ABC 15 details about how 6 U.S. Marshals falsely arrested her at gunpoint outside her Phoenix home last month. They insisted she was Rozak and took her to federal prison in Florence, Arizona on a parole violation.
How would you describe everything that's happened in the last month?
Heartbreaking and totally disheartening in everything I believed in. I no longer trust the people who govern me.
This is a mugshot of a much younger Rozak taken in Texas from more than 2 decades ago. Our previous investigation found the warrant for her arrest stemmed from a parole violation for non-violent crimes out of Oklahoma from the 1990s. But again, Penny and her family shared extensive documentation, including years of photos and even her birth certificate, showing federal agents had the wrong person, and this was a case of mistaken identity.
What do I want? I want my life back. I want my DNA in my possession. I want my mugshots that they took in my possession.
We're following up on this story for you tonight.
Investigator Jennifer Kovaleski continues to push for accountability and has a major change in direction after her reporting.
Just one more time, will you just say and spell your name for me so I make sure we get it right?
Penny McCarthy, MC, capital C-A-R-T-H-Y, not Carol anything.
The U.S. Marshals Service now changing their story, confirming to ABC 15 the fingerprints don't match. And 66-year-old Penny McCarthy is not 70-year-old Carol Ann Rozak. The Oklahoma fugitive federal agents thought she was when they arrested and detained her last month.
Penny McCarthy, did nothing wrong. I mean, I've done many things wrong, but nothing illegal. And this is just not right.
But their admission won't stop Penny's quest for justice.
What do you want done?
I want somebody to hold these people accountable. I want this to not happen to more people.
An Arizona judge dismissed the case and vacated Penny's identity hearing on Monday.
Federal agents accusing her of being an ex-con who violated her parole.
Just days after our investigation aired into her false arrest outside her Phoenix home.
And then they're out the doors and they're pointing rifles at me.
Federal agents claimed Penny was Carol, seen in this 2 decades-old mugshot. And we learned this all stemmed from an outstanding parole violation from 1999 in Oklahoma.
I have my birth certificate.
Even though Penny had extensive documentation, they had the wrong person.
They've traumatized me. I don't go in my front yard unless somebody's here with me. I try not to go anyplace alone anymore.
Penny's still struggling with what they put her through.
I've told my children their whole life, own your heirs, and I would love for somebody to own their heirs. I no longer have faith in the government that anybody's going to say this is wrong.
We took her concerns and our questions directly to the U.S. Attorney's Office and U.S. Marshals Service. They've all done a lot of finger pointing, but in the last 48 hours, the U.S. Marshals Service sent us this statement trying to justify what happened. They said a preliminary review of this investigation indicates that USMS officials followed proper procedures and regrets any inconvenience caused by the mistaken identification of Miss McCarthy, but it still doesn't answer key questions.
We're sorry that happened. Have a nice day. Really?
Here's something else we found that's interesting. According to this motion recently filed in Oklahoma federal court, Rozak had stolen Penny Burns' identity in a way that made Penny Burns look like Rozak on paper. Penny says Burns is her maiden name, but no one will tell us exactly what linked Penny to Carol, causing the federal government to make a major mistake.
What do you want to say to the real Carol Ann Rozak?
Then I'm looking for her. I'm probably looking for her harder than they are at this point. I would like nothing better than to show them that I can do their job better than them.
You're probably wondering, why didn't they check Penny's fingerprints when they first took her into custody? As we've been reporting, they did. We're told there was some kind of glitch and her digital fingerprints at first appeared to match. But now, we know they don't. We will keep asking questions and for the U.S. Marshals Service to go before our cameras. I'm investigator Jennifer Kovaleski, ABC 15, Arizona.
ABC 15 investigator Jennifer Kovaleski broke this story, and tonight she has new information and insight, raising even more questions about how federal agents made such a major mistake.
Case number 24-5070NJ.
You're listening to the newly released audio recording.
United States of America versus Carol Ann Rozak.
From inside the federal courthouse in downtown Phoenix.
Before the court for initial appearance on
the first time we're hearing the initial court hearing and key details at the center of 66-year-old Penny McCarthy's wild case of mistaken identity.
Ms. McCarthy has cooperated with the fingerprints, the DNA sample.
The hearing lasts for less than half an hour, but what was said in those 14 minutes raises even more questions about decisions made by federal law enforcement.
I'd like to know why this person was arrested as Ms. Rozak.
That's the judge asking the same questions Penny's been asking for weeks.
I'm a senior citizen that got picked up at gunpoint in her front yard and taken to prison.
We first interviewed Penny back in March, shortly after her initial court appearance we're just now hearing for the first time.
I'm right about here.
Back then, she described the clear show of force as U.S. Marshals arrested her at gunpoint outside her Phoenix home.
They're hanging out the windows, and then they're out the doors and they're pointing rifles at me. All of a sudden, I'm on antidepressants. I'm on blood pressure medicine. I'm on medicine to sleep at night. All because somebody didn't do their job right.
Federal agents accusing her of being an ex-con.
Just days after our investigation, the case against Penny was dismissed. And perhaps more importantly, the federal government admitted it made a mistake. Penny never should have been arrested. She was not Carol Ann Rozak, not the person seen in this mugshot from 20 years ago, not the Oklahoma fugitive federal agents thought she was.
How are you doing?
Depends on the day.
More than 2 months since her arrest, we went back to Penny's house.
I'm terrified that they're going to arrest me again. And because my stuff's now in the system under the name Carol, I'm going to wind up back in prison.
We also shared the audio we recently obtained of her initial court appearance.
So I have that recording.
Okay.
And I wanted to play it for you.
Okay.
The hearing happened a day after Penny was arrested.
This is a 25-year-old supervised release violation.
Which brings us back to that critical question from the judge.
I'd like to know why this person was arrested.
Me too.
As Ms. Rozak.
Yes.
Me too.
And now listen to the response from the federal prosecutor.
And that's a fair question, and one I had, is that I've been provided some documents, some open source documents that suggest that the person that they found was Carol Ann Rozak.
Then, a key moment, the federal prosecutor, in front of Penny and the judge, admits that evidence.
That is not sufficient to go forward with a hearing.
Then the prosecutor explains some of the details that led to Penny's arrest.
It is strictly based upon information that they had, Facebook postings, information from the pre-sentence report that was generated in 1999 that led and some aliases.
I want to see what you arrested me with, other than my Facebook picture. It was obvious that it was a cluster and that everybody knew somebody messed up bad.
And on the topic of messing up, again, here's the judge.
Let me just clarify regarding the fingerprints. Her fingerprints have been taken, and did they match Ms. Rozak, or they're still pending?
The deputy U.S. Marshal in Oklahoma originally told us there was a glitch in the system, somehow causing Penny's digital prints to match the wanted fugitive. But a day after Penny's arrest, in court, the prosecutor said this.
They're still pending. The marshal that I just talked to within the last 45 minutes who's not qualified to make that assessment, looked at him.
Yet it was qualified enough to put me in prison for.
A full fingerprint analysis would confirm what Penny knew all along. The fingerprints weren't a match, and the federal government arrested and detained the wrong person.
The only answers we're getting at this point are from what you do. It should be embarrassing for every level of it.
Penny wants answers, and we're committed to getting them for her. But so far, the U.S. Marshals Service has declined our multiple requests for an on-camera interview. In an updated statement, the agency said it continues to conduct a thorough review of actions taken by U.S. Marshals regarding the fugitive investigation of Carol Ann Rozak and subsequent mistaken arrest of Penny McCarthy. The agency said that a preliminary review found federal agents followed proper procedures. We will continue to push for accountability. I'm investigator Jennifer Kovaleski, ABC 15, Arizona.
Police, don't move!
It took the federal government more than 6 months to publicly release this dramatic video.
Hands up! Hands up!
Revealing visuals highlighting a significant error by U.S. Marshals.
Turn around.
And it also proves what 66-year-old Penny McCarthy knew all along.
Ever since this happened, sorry, I am so freaking disappointed in my government. It's not funny.
Turn away from the sound of my voice.
This exclusive new police body camera footage captures the moment 6 U.S. Marshals, armed with rifles, wrongfully arrested Penny outside her Phoenix home.
You have an arrest warrant. Turn away from the sound of my voice. Yes, for you.
Who am I?
Turn away. Turn around, we'll discuss.
Turn away, you're gonna get hit.
The video clearly shows Penny had no idea why federal agents were there or how they could have a warrant for her arrest.
I truly, truly believed I was being kidnapped.
Do you want to confirm who I am?
ABC 15 fought for 6 months to obtain these videos through a federal public records request. The first time we're seeing exactly what led to Penny's arrest.
Turn around and face away from me.
And it all happened in less than 2 minutes.
Can you prove you're the police?
Ma'am, you see that we're the police.
How do I see that?
Ma'am, we're gonna get, if you turn around and
What was it like watching this video?
It just makes me more angry than before.
Penny's story started with an email. No one believed her until ABC 15 listened to what happened, and we uncovered serious failures by the federal government.
I'd like to know why this person was arrested as Ms. Rozak.
Just days after our investigation aired, and in direct response to our reporting, prosecutors dropped the case against Penny, and the federal government admitted it was wrong. Penny never should have been arrested.
I'm not Carol Ann Rozak. I've never been Carol Ann Rozak.
She was not this woman, Carol Ann Rozak, not the Oklahoma fugitive federal agents thought she was, not the person seen in this mugshot from 20 years ago who was wanted on a parole violation for nonviolent crimes.
What do you see on these videos?
I see abuse of power, period.
This brings us back to the body camera footage and Penny's crucial question.
Do you want to confirm who I am?
put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. We'll discuss this later.
Never discussed it later.
Stop moving and stop looking back. Stop looking back!
Can you prove you're the police?
Ma'am, you see that we're the police.
How do I see that?
Ma'am.
I don't know you're anybody. This is not my world. This does not happen to me.
If you turn around again, you're going to get taped. Understand me?
They did nothing but treat me like crap and lie to me.
Despite Penny insisting she could prove who she was, it's not until Penny's in handcuffs U.S. Marshals finally tell her who they think they're arresting.
Carol Rozak. That's not who I am.
Penny McCarthy.
Yes. But I've never been Carol Rozak. I can prove who I am.
Okay.
How would you describe this case?
A textbook example of federal agencies not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Josh Colstrud is a criminal defense attorney with years of experience as a federal prosecutor for the U.S. Attorney's Office.
This case is concerning because of the manner in which Ms. McCarthy was arrested.
We asked him to review the videos and evidence in Penny's case.
Your reaction?
It is stunning to watch, and it's scary that this can happen in America.
Colstrud believes the videos show Phoenix U.S. Marshals used excessive force.
This was an aggressive arrest, and it's unreasonable on so many levels.
He also calls into question how federal agents made this arrest before fully verifying Penny's identity.
In this case, they didn't do that. We have to hold these agencies and the agents accountable.
The only public accountability we do have regarding the clear disconnect between Penny and Carol comes from this court audio recording a day after she's detained, when the judge also questions why Penny was arrested.
But it is strictly based upon information that they had, Facebook postings, that led and some aliases.
Evidence that wasn't sufficient to go forward with a hearing. A full fingerprint analysis would confirm Penny's prints didn't match, proving U.S. Marshals arrested the wrong person.
Yeah.
The U.S. Marshals are above the law, is what it says to me. And the United States government allows that to happen.
Do you want to confirm who I am?
It's a hell of a system. If it weren't for ABC 15 listening to me, I would have gotten nowhere.
Tonight, an ABC 15 investigation is resonating all the way to our nation's capital. It's an update in a shocking case of mistaken identity.
Federal agents wrongfully arrested 66-year-old Penny McCarthy in March outside her Phoenix home. Our ABC 15 investigators have spent 8 months exposing how U.S. Marshals got it wrong.
And now what happened has the attention of a U.S. House committee. Investigator Jennifer Kovaleski spoke exclusively to the lawmakers demanding an investigation.
This is as wrong as it gets.
Powerful words from two sitting members of Congress.
We want to get to the bottom of it
and figure out how they screwed up so bad.
Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio, chair of the influential House Judiciary Committee.
It just didn't go down the way it should go down.
And Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs. Both are now calling for answers and accountability in direct response to our reporting about the false arrest of 66-year-old Penny McCarthy by U.S. Marshals.
What would you want to say to Penny McCarthy?
Well, her government should tell her we're sorry.
And that's why these lawmakers signed this letter asking for a formal Department of Justice investigation.
What happened to Penny McCarthy was something that really shouldn't happen to anybody.
Hands up! Hands up!
They're responding to this disturbing body camera video ABC 15 fought for 6 months to obtain from the federal government.
You have an arrest warrant. Turn away from the sound of my voice. Yes, for you.
Who am I?
Turn away. Turn around. We'll discuss.
Turn away. You're going to get hit. What did you see in the body camera footage that stood out to you that raised concerns?
Well, just the facts. You got a 66-year-old lady, Miss McCarthy, in her driveway, and the U.S. Marshal Service comes up, guns drawn.
The footage shows 6 U.S. Marshals armed with rifles wrongfully arresting Penny outside her Phoenix home in March.
You turn around again, you're going to get taped. Understand?
Court records show federal agents thought Penny was this wanted fugitive from Oklahoma who had violated her parole on a 2-decade-old warrant for nonviolent crimes. But they were wrong.
You do want to confirm who I am?
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back. We'll discuss this later.
Never discussed it later.
Stop moving and stop looking back. Stop looking back!
She asked, I think you got the wrong person. They threatened to tase her, and they detain her for 24 hours, and of course, they got the wrong individual.
Penny, your reaction to this letter?
I'm loving it. I love how it was written. I love the truth behind it. I'm thrilled.
The lawmaker's letter to the Inspector General says, "We are very concerned at both the Marshals' carelessness and excessive force during this encounter.
The U.S. Marshals' lack of regard for Mrs. McCarthy's due process rights is very troubling, and oversight is necessary to ensure similar abuses do not happen in the future."
The big question is why? Even if you had the right person, it's a 66-year-old lady. Do you need to treat her that way?
Was it just a horrible mistake that took place, or is there some other systemic issues that we have to address?
But what happened that day still impacts Penny.
I want to go back to believing in the America I believed in before this happened. I want that. I want what I've raised and taught my kids to believe is true. Sorry. I just don't know that I do anymore. So, sorry.
It's been an emotional journey for Penny.
It is a wild case of mistaken identity.
During the past 8 months, the ABC 15 investigators have aired a half-dozen reports exposing critical mistakes by the federal government in this case. A day after our first investigation aired in April, prosecutors dropped the case against Penny.
Case number 24-5070NJ.
Then we obtained the court audio recording the day after Penny was detained.
I'd like to know why this person was arrested as Ms. Rozak.
Which showed even the judge questioned Penny's arrest.
But it is strictly based upon information that they had, Facebook postings, that led and some aliases.
But a full fingerprint analysis would confirm what Penny knew all along. Her fingerprints weren't a match.
There was no innocent until proven guilty in this.
How did you learn about what happened to Penny McCarthy?
You're reporting.
The fact that you guys were reporting on this actually brought it to our attention. And if you hadn't reported on it, it likely would have gone without notice of myself and the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Mr. Jordan.
After lawmakers sent this letter to the DOJ, Representative Biggs says he spoke with the U.S. Marshals Service.
They welcomed an investigation. They also want to get to the bottom of it. They have questions as well. We've got to tighten this ship up. I mean, this can't go on.
I want this to go as high as humanly possible, and I want somebody to shine a light on this.
Now, 8 months after Penny was wrongfully placed in handcuffs and detained in federal custody.
It certainly gives me hope compared to everybody else telling me that you just can't touch these people.
Here's the bottom line.
The Inspector General has exclusive authority to investigate this kind of misconduct. Representative Biggs says it could take 6 months to a year to complete. Both lawmakers are asking for findings and recommendations in that letter. And all of this could lead to a hearing on Capitol Hill. I'm investigator Jennifer Kowaleski, ABC 15, Arizona.
Jen, thanks. The U.S. Marshals Service admits Penny was mistakenly arrested. Agency said it does not comment on administrative investigations, but did say in a statement, "We regret any inconvenience caused to Ms. McCarthy by her arrest and remain committed to lessening similar incidents in the future."